The stars speak in symbols, but they don't always tell the whole truth. They trace the outlines of who we are, whispering traits, paths, potentials, but sometimes what draws us most deeply to someone exists in what the Zodiac doesn't say. And when it comes to Gemini, that truth is undeniable. There's something undeniably magnetic about them. Something the Zodiac hints at, but never quite captures. Why is Gemini so deeply desired, not just romantically, but spiritually, emotionally, energetically? It isn't simply because they're clever. It isn't just their charm or quick wit. What makes people crave the presence of a Gemini is something far more mysterious. It's their soul's ability to move between moods, between realms, between the known and the unseen. They are the messenger between worlds, one moment grounded, the next somewhere else entirely. And that movement awakens something ancient in those who cross their path. To feel a Gemini's presence is to remember a version of yourself you forgot you could be. It's to witness joy and depth coexisting, curiosity dressed in courage, laughter rooted in healing. It's that sacred permission they give without saying a word. You are allowed to change. And if you're someone who finds truth in transformation, who sees astrology not as a label, but as a mirror, you're exactly where you belong. Take a moment and subscribe to Astro Gemini. This space was created for souls like yours, searching, open, evolving. But let's go deeper. People say they want stability, consistency, predictability, and yet they are drawn to Gemini. The paradox, the shapeshifter, the storm that speaks in poetry. Why? Because underneath it all, what people truly crave is aliveness. That vibrant, shifting, electric force that Gemini radiates without effort. They remind us of movement, of choice, of possibility. While others walk in straight lines, Gemini moves in spirals, collecting moments, connections, meanings. They are not chaotic, they are connected to more than one way of being. And this is what the Zodiac doesn't always say. Gemini doesn't just hold knowledge, they hold freedom. And freedom is always, always desired, even by those too afraid to claim it for themselves. So when someone encounters Gemini energy, whether in conversation, friendship, or love, something inside them stirs. A question, a hunger, a spark. And that spark is the beginning of transformation. There is a secret ache behind every desire for Gemini, a longing not just for their company, but for what their presence awakens in you. You don't just want them. You want the part of yourself that feels alive around them. The part that laughs louder, questions deeper, feels more real. Because Gemini doesn't just interact, they activate. And here lies the truth few understand. We don't desire people for their perfection. We desire them for how we feel in their presence. Gemini has a way of making people remember their forgotten parts, the inner child, the wild dreamer, the quiet thinker. When you're with them, it's as if the world softens and sharpens at the same time. Colors feel brighter, conversations stretch longer, even silence becomes sacred. They are a paradox, yes, but not one that confuses, one that reveals. Their duality isn't about being two-faced, it's about seeing both sides. It's about walking with one foot in light and one in shadow, and still smiling with your whole heart. That's the kind of balance the soul recognizes, even when the mind can't explain it. Midway through the script, let's pause, not to slow down, but to breathe. If something in this message is resonating with you, if a memory stirred or a person came to mind, press like. Your energy helps this message reach others who need it. And maybe it tells the universe you're ready to meet yourself more fully. Now imagine the inner world of a Gemini, constant movement, thoughts like lightning, emotions that twist like rivers through a canyon, ideas that bloom faster than they can be spoken. It's no wonder they often seem distant or distracted. They're not avoiding presence, they're navigating complexity. They live in multiple layers at once, constantly translating energy, constantly shifting gears. And yet, they still find ways to be present, to love, to laugh, to hold space for others, even when their own mind is a galaxy in motion. This, too, is what draws people in, their capacity to exist fully in the moment, even as they dance between timelines. They can talk to your pain and still make you laugh. They can mirror your darkness and still show you the light. They are not afraid of contradiction. They carry it with grace. But this desire, this craving for Gemini energy comes with a challenge. Because to truly love them, to stay with them, you must release the need to possess. You must love without caging. You must hold space, not hold them down. And for many, that kind of love feels too wild, too open, too vulnerable. So they admire Gemini from afar, wanting their energy but fearing their depth, craving their spirit but not ready for the reflection they bring. And Gemini, they feel it. They always do. That's why they often seem guarded or hard to pin down, because they've been praised and misunderstood in the same breath, desired for their light but abandoned in their shadow, seen but only halfway, and still they shine. Still they shine, not because they have never been broken, but because they've learned how to hold themselves together with stardust and soul fire. Every Gemini carries a private ache, a sacred loneliness that comes from being so seen, yet so rarely understood. People want the spark, the mind, the charm. But when the room quiets and the mask slips, few stay to witness the storm.
And so, Gemini learns to keep moving. To stay in motion is to stay safe. To speak before the silence sinks in. To light others up before anyone notices their own light flickering. They become the mood maker, the storyteller, the one who always knows what to say. Because if they pause too long, their truth might spill out. And that truth is heavy. But those who take the time to sit with a Gemini, not just to listen, but to feel, discover something extraordinary. Beneath the whirlwind of thoughts, the playful banter, and the restless spirit, lies a soul that longs for intimacy, real intimacy, not just physical or romantic, but energetic, soul-level connection. The kind where silence feels safe. And changing your mind doesn't mean losing someone's love. You see, Gemini doesn't just crave conversation. They crave resonance, that sacred click between energies, that vibration that says, you can be all of yourself here. And when they find it, they bloom. They open in ways you'd never expected. They show you the pages they usually keep hidden. They stop performing and start revealing. That's when you meet the real Gemini, the poet behind the performer, the healer behind the humor, the seeker behind the smile. And isn't that what we all desire? To be fully seen, fully held, fully loved, without being asked to shrink or simplify? That is why Gemini is so desired. Not just because they light up a room, but because they awaken a hunger for freedom inside everyone they meet. They make you question the stories you've been told about who you have to be. They challenge your rigidity with grace. They remind you that joy and depth are not opposites. They are partners in healing. And for those who carry Gemini energy in their own birth chart, you may feel this tension often. The pull between movement and stillness, between solitude and connection, between expressing and protecting your truth. Let this be your permission. You are allowed to be many things. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to walk away from versions of yourself that no longer fit and still be worthy of love. To everyone still watching, thank you for staying. If this message feels like it was written for your heart, take a moment to like this video. It helps more people find this space, this truth, this healing. And subscribe to Astro Gemini, because here we honor complexity. We celebrate the dance of light and shadow. We tell the stories the Zodiac doesn't always say out loud. Finally, I want to invite you into the sacred conversation. In the comments, share your date of birth and your Zodiac sign. But more than that, share a moment when you felt deeply yourself. Whether you're a Gemini or someone who loves one, tell us what this message brought up for you. Let your soul be heard here. Because the world is full of noise, but you are a voice. And Gemini, more than anyone, understands the power of speaking your truth, even when it trembles.
Gemini's desire isn't rooted in ego. It's woven into the very soul of their purpose. They didn't come to this life to be predictable, to follow lines drawn by someone else's hand. They came here to disrupt the silence, to open minds, to ignite hearts, to awaken the sacred question within every soul they meet: who am I, really? And that question is what makes them irresistible. You see, Gemini doesn't just walk into your life. They arrive like a riddle the universe asks you to solve, not with your mind, but with your spirit. They stir your still waters, challenge your comfort, and leave behind more than memories. They leave imprints, echoes of laughter, unfinished sentences that live in your thoughts, a touch of soul that stays even when they've long since gone. They are the pause between inhale and exhale, the space where transformation begins, the invitation to not just exist, but to become. That's the piece the Zodiac often forgets to tell you. That behind every Gemini's magnetic charm, there's a sacred responsibility to awaken, to reflect, to remind others of their power to evolve. And because of this, their path is rarely easy. Gemini often faces the pain of being desired but not understood, loved but only in fragments, celebrated when they're bright, abandoned when they're still. People want their mind, but not always their depth, their freedom, but not their complexity, their laughter, but not their loneliness. And yet, they continue to offer their energy with generosity. They still show up. They still love. Because at their core, they believe, hope, that someone will see beyond the surface. And when someone does, when someone meets them not just with eyes, but with soul, Gemini becomes home. Not a place to settle, but a place to expand. A home where your thoughts are welcome, your fears are met with compassion, your changes are celebrated. That's the true desire behind Gemini's energy. It gives others the space to breathe as their full self. No masks, no pretending, just presence. So what is it that Gemini has that everyone secretly wants? It's the courage to be in motion and still be whole. It's the wisdom to change without losing your essence. It's the brilliance of saying, I don't know yet, but I'm curious. And in a world obsessed with answers, Gemini dares to live inside the questions. That is why we crave them, not because they complete us, but because they remind us of who we are beneath the roles we've played for too long. And if you've made it this far, if this message has wrapped around your spirit like a familiar wind, I invite you. Subscribe to Astro Gemini. This isn't just a channel. It's a reflection, a soul space, a gathering of voices who believe in the power of change, complexity, and cosmic truth.
And if your heart was touched, if you saw yourself or someone you love in these words, press like. Your energy is sacred here. Let it ripple outward. Now, share with us in the comments your date of birth, your zodiac sign, and one thing you've always wanted to say about being a Gemini or loving one. Tell us how Gemini energy has changed your life, challenged you, mirrored you. Because this conversation doesn't end here. It begins with you. And remember, Gemini may be ruled by Mercury, but they're fueled by spirit. And that spirit, restless, radiant, real, is exactly why they are so deeply, eternally desired.